also minister. His state minister is here, and I'm very glad to have her here with us, the Honorable Marissa Dalrymple Filbert. So before we get into the questions, and we will be taking questions, there are a number of individuals who don't usually come to these that are here, and I just wanted to get an opportunity to recognize you before we go into the questions. I had noted that the Jamaica Prefects Association members, a few of them are here. Can you stand, please, so we can recognize you? It is National Prefects Week, and so we have two of them here looking all lovely, and so we want to thank you for being here this morning with us. We also have today with us the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students. There should be some students here who are a part of that movement. It's good to see you all. Thank you for coming. And we also have members of the Youth Council of Jamaica with us. Are there anyone? Oh, okay. I see you. Good to have you here. It's a day of men for your association. Very good. And we also have Mr. Alvin Lawson, Dean of College at Mico University here. Thank you for being here. And we have some other representatives from Mico University. Can you all stand, please? Wonderful. Thank you for being here. I invite our lovely young people here every week. Every time we have post-cabinet press briefings, I invite different groups because it's important for young people to feel a part of governance and the governance process. And I think coming to a post-cabinet press briefing, and I thank you ministers for being so open, they get to see ministers live and direct. They get to hear about policies. They get to hear what's going on in cabinet right there, right in front of them, and they can come and take pictures with you after. It means a lot to them. And it's important for us. I mean, we are going to be gone at some point, and some of them even tell me that they're going to take my job, and that's great. And I want that. We want to see the next generation. And so we're very thankful to all of you for coming today. Hopefully you've learned something because it's been a very good post-cabinet press briefing today. And so having acknowledged all of those who are here visiting with us, I now open for questions from our media that's here today.
Good morning, Minister. Good morning to everyone.
How are you?
I am fine.
Good
It's good to be back. So we will begin our Q&A segment with the ever-present Mahiri from Nationwide.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I have one question for each presenter. So we're going to start off with you, Minister.
Hey,
I know when there were issues stemming from the fuel crisis in Cuba, the government did reach out to Jamaican students rather, in Cuba, just to make sure all was well. Has similar communication been extended to any Jamaican students who may be in the Middle East at this time?
That would be a part of the overtures that we've seen and the engagement coming from the Minister of Foreign Affairs. So when you ask your question for Minister Johnson-Smith, she can elaborate a bit more on that one.
Okay, well, hopefully she remembers it.
Yeah, she will. She will.
Oh, well, the second question was for Minister
Okay,
Johnson-Smith.
Minister Johnson-Smith.
So, during the CARICOM meeting in St. Kitts last week, I know U.S. Congressman Carlos Jimenez was none too pleased with the Prime Minister's comments on Cuba. And I know following his speech, there would have been meetings held with the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. In terms of that meeting, was that brought up in the meeting, and do the U.S. and Jamaica share the same opinion on the Cuban regime?
That's quite a complex question, Mahiri, and I hope my answer will be sufficient for you. So we took note of the statement, the tweet. I'm not going to elevate it to a statement, but I will note it as a post that was made in social media. But we are 100% confident that the broad acceptance and recognition of the Prime Minister's statement was that it was balanced, it was visionary, it was realistic, it expressed the complexity of the circumstances of the relationship of Cuba with the region, while recognizing our grounded and fundamental beliefs in democracy and freedom and open markets as we practice and live here every day, and that the administration broadly recognized it as such. So our meetings with Secretary Rubio and members of his delegation as we all engaged at different levels, was entirely cordial, was productive, and you would see that from the posts made by Secretary Rubio himself. And therefore, there's really no concern regarding any perhaps misplaced emphasis on or misplaced perspective that might be taken by an individual as opposed to a broad recognition of the strong partnership that continues to subsist between the U.S. and Jamaica.
And any word on the students in the Middle East?
We have not been advised. No one has made themselves known to us as a student in particular. So we, as far as we're aware, all professionals, where families exist, they are as a family unit, and therefore individuals haven't been brought to us as students as they would be minors. If that information changes, then we will adjust our engagement accordingly.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Our third question is to Minister Vaz. Question, Minister. In terms of the response from the electricity sector to Hurricane Melissa, would you say that this response, how we've gotten to where we are in March, would you say it serves as a blueprint for disasters going forward, or are there still aspects of the response that you think should be tweaked and improved?
I think when you compare the response of the JPS with Beryl, which was 1 year prior to Melissa, you would see the improvements. I would say that the recovery time of 124 days for a Category 5 plus catastrophic hurricane is absolutely miraculous. And I think it sets a standard and a bar internationally for a third world country to have recovered the way we did, with a collaboration between the government and the utility company. Many first world countries that have had similar experiences have not even come near in terms of the response. And I think it's something that has been noted internationally. And I'm sure that it will be an exceptional response that will be monitored and learned from by many other countries in the future.
And lastly, question to Minister Chuck. Could you comment on yesterday's Joint Select Committee focusing on the Child Diversion Act and how that process has been taking place up to this point?
The Child Diversion Joint Select Committee is going extremely well. We have had some good presentation. Unfortunately, yesterday stuck to consensual sex, whether we should decriminalize or not. But we also had a mentor, and it was a most impressive presentation from the mentor, who indicated in dealing with the mentees, she had actually mentored about 10 mentees. It allowed the committee to see the relationship with the mentees and how so many youngsters have recovered and coming out of darkness to see the light. We have quite a few more presentations. The Minister of Education team will be, CPFSA will be there next Wednesday. We also have presentations from the Children's Advocate, and we are inviting any others who would like to make presentations. But we can see that some adjustments will be made to the Child Diversion Act. It's a very successful act, but we still want to improve it to make sure that many of our youngsters who have gone awry can be recovered.
Thank you, Mahiri.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Dwayne Williams, and I am the Deputy Communications Director for the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students. So my question is directed to Honorable Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith. So, Minister, my question is in relation to the students that are currently studying in Cuba. In light of evolving economic and geopolitical conditions, could you advise us on what specific contingency measures the government has established to safeguard these students should circumstances deteriorate? More particularly, what structured emergency response framework exists to ensure their protection, welfare, and, if necessary, safe repatriation? Furthermore, could you outline the potential logistical, diplomatic, or financial constraints that may affect the state's ability to coordinate emergency transport at short notice, including any challenges relating to airspace, charter arrangements, or bilateral cooperation mechanisms?
Wow. Did Mahiri give you that question?
That is a question for answer by thesis. Yes. That is not a question for a quick postcard response. But I want to commend you on the clear thoughtfulness that you have applied to the issue. You have sought to identify, I would say, the broadest possible scope of issues that could be considered in respect of students in Cuba, and that is some feat intellectually. So I want to commend you on your approach to the question. As to my capacity to answer, that's a different debate. But, you know, the circumstances in Cuba are quite different, for example, by contrast to what's happening in the Middle East now, meaning that there are hardships that are being experienced there and varying information regarding the likelihood of improvement. So, for example, there was a meeting between my permanent secretary and the ambassador in Cuba, ambassador of Cuba in Kingston just yesterday, where she shared an expectation that things will improve in the next 2 weeks. In that context, what does one contemplate a framework that is considering at all times a worst case scenario to be imminent? The engagement with our students is direct. We have, as you know, established a WhatsApp group that has allowed students who were not registered with us to make themselves known to us. As we have shared before, depending on where they are located, the impact of the fuel outages, etc., differs. Students are also at different stages of their studies and accordingly have different levels of anxiety about their circumstances weighed as against their desire to return home. So there's no homogeneous sense of a desire to return. Their primary concern, as has been brought to our attention, has been how to continue their studies if they were to return. Their concern has been how to obtain their transcripts, because they would need them in order to be elsewhere. We have encouraged them to ask their institutions, as we have been guided by the Cuban authorities, because most of them are private. And therefore, the institutions, and even those who are on government, the institutions manage academic matters and administrative matters, just like a university here. So Minister Morris Dixon could not issue a transcript or issue a diploma or even direct UE to do so. And it is exactly like that as it is around the world. Academic matters are managed by the institutions directly. So what we're asking students is to advise us, if you have made a request of your institution, what has the response been and what are the challenges, if any? Meaning it could be that they say it's going to take 6 months. And that is a particular challenge. We can say, is there any way that this could be expedited? Is there a process that we can do that can consolidate these approaches, etc.? Or it may well be a matter of cost. Is this something that we could assist with? Then bring it to our attention. But without any more detailed information than we have now, we are unable to take the matters further, because we've engaged with the ministry, we've engaged at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs level with Cuba, we've engaged at the ambassadorial level, and we have also been present at the most recent diplomatic corps briefing that took place in Havana I think it was last week. No, it was just week before last, where they advised that they would be appointing focal points where countries had concerns about their students. Up to yesterday, I asked whether the focal points had yet been appointed, and I was advised that they had not yet been appointed, but this is a matter I asked our ambassador to follow up on directly with the ministries. Because, of course, it's cross-Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the ministry that's responsible for education and public health. All of the students are in medically related or medical studies. It's at very least a narrow scope of engagement. Again, because there is no exact trigger point, and I've spoken with all my CARICOM colleagues in person, and we remain in contact among ourselves by WhatsApp and at the ambassadorial level by WhatsApp and in person on the ground in Havana. And at this point, no country is contemplating any evacuation. At this point, those who are students, for example, who are in hospitals, they have more electricity than those who are not. We are seeking to install a solar system at our embassy, because the embassy itself is severely challenged. So, and the staff there, I really have to express appreciation to them publicly, because they are standing up under the strain. And but we are hopeful that we will be able to operate more predictably in terms of our hours when we are able to install the solar system. So there is a framework in place. I believe you had asked about a structured framework. There is a plan that is in place, but it is, again, something that would be that would unfold depending on different circumstances, and perhaps not a matter that would be that we would share necessarily in detail here. But again, I commend you on your question. I hope I helped with sufficient information, and I will write the thesis.
Thank you, Minister. And I think we have one last question from one of our MICO students.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Jamaria Crumby from the Jamaica University College. My question is directed to the Honorable Delroy Chuck. So how does the amendment to the Criminal Record Rehabilitation of Offenders Act 1988 ensures that individuals seeking expungement have demonstrated genuine rehabilitation, and what specific indicators does the government consider when determining whether a person has been successfully reintegrated into society?
All right. Thank you for your question. Minister Chuck, do you want to be a lawyer?
Well, it was up to now. You did not have the specific matters that are taken into consideration in determining whether an applicant should get expungement. As I indicated, the Act now provides for several matters to be taken into consideration, such as, I read out a few earlier: the nature and gravity of the offense, social inquiry reports, the references that come in, the issue of whether the person has definitely gone through a rehabilitation period. We also get a police report, so that many things are taken into consideration before the person's application is allowed. So that what has happened over the period since, over the last 10 or more years, is that a number of persons have actually applied. Several have been refused, but many have actually, when they follow the process, they get the opportunity for the second chance. As a good indication of what has happened, up to last year in 2025, we had, 1662 applications, and 1,555 were granted. 380 were refused. Now, you can see in 2026 so far, we have had 211, 168 have been granted, 5 have been refused. What usually happens, though, is that people would come to the ministry or speak to a lawyer to check whether or not the conviction that they have can be expunged. So that unless it is outside the third schedule, they very likely would not apply. So they normally, if they feel that the conviction is one which can be expunged, sometimes we assist them at the ministry to indicate if you apply for an illegal possession of conviction, the answer is, it doesn't make sense, the answer is no, because it is not an expungible offense. So they usually don't apply. But if it is an expungible offense, they apply. Now, the process is fairly straightforward for those who want a conviction expunged. They pay for a police record at the TAG, and they use that because they would have given their fingerprint, and they have the police record. They have a copy of the tax receipt with the police record, go to the ministry, and put in an application which has to have 2 references along with it. Now, we don't just take the police record and use that at the moment. We still ask the Criminal Records Office for a police report, which oftentimes take a little while because the police report not only use the police record, but may well do additional checks to assist the expungement board in deciding whether or not to grant the application. Okay? And just for information, anyone who wants to know the process or want to inquire of any matters from the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs can call 888 Justice. And we have toll-free 888 Justice and get all the information about justice.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister. And that was our last question for